Good morning. Welcome to the world of conscious positive thinking with MJ, where your thoughts become your power and your mindset becomes your compass. MJ is here to guide you through a journey of self-awareness, emotional mastery, and empowered living.
Find us on the web at mbradio.us.
Want to make
reach out to touch your musical sound, no matter you're young or old, God, let the good time roll. But still you say, right. Can't wait any longer. My love cannot linger. Hear the river whisper keenly. See no matter if you're happy, see no matter if you're blue. My love, it a shine on for you. My heart, it a bubble up for you. My love, it a shining for you. It a shining for you. Hey you, hey you. It a shining for you. Say when love could have never grow old. Love work, Mount Diamond and Pearl. Till it is a world on the top of the world.
Hey, good morning, good morning, good morning. Welcome to episode number 66. Some of you know I have started my happy hippie trails of 2026. Why, you say? Because though I like to be on the chilly and cold side, and I absolutely love white Christmases, enough's enough. When there is so much to explore and so much energy to dive into and so many just beautiful things. And so my partner in crime, he has now proceeded and myself with our little Keystone Bullet. I'm going to hashtag Keystone Bullet. And we start our journey. So our journey consists of going to areas that have both photography sites and spiritual either vortexes or significance of indigenous, something that relates into my energetic world. And so we often, if you know us, we get in the car and we just drive. No, it doesn't matter. I mean, we could be in Pennsylvania, we could be in Florida, we could be here in Jamestown, North Carolina. And that's where we are today. We are right here in the beautiful Jamestown, very historical site, very historical for indigenous purposes, for photography purposes, and just, colonization of how it existed and why it existed. So beautiful thing is, I didn't even know really too much about Jamestown. I want to say until about 2000, maybe 16 or 17, my Florida family, who we've been together, when I first left Nellis Air Force Base, I went to Homestead Air Force Base. That was in 1988. And during that time, I was still under TDRL, temporary duty retirement leave, due to me bearing an illness caused by the injection. If you saw my stories, you know. And since that time, the very first person I ever met, his name was Steve Ursey. He was a physical therapist at Homestead Air Force Base. He was a tech, and he was working on my back and getting me stable and walking since my very first episode of my autoimmune and auto neuros, and we have remained friends ever since. In 89, 90, in that time frame, he introduced me, which is now to his lovely wife, but it was his girlfriend at the time. Her name was Renee. And we bared children together. We went through all of our beautiful our young adolescence together. So we got in trouble and we had fun and we explored, but that relationship was gold. It was like the family I didn't have in South Miami. And when they left, of course, I couldn't stand it. So I had to always come see them and I had to be present. And they moved to a little place called Jamestown, North Carolina. Here's the funny part. It's taken them a little bit, but they literally replaced us with another Gonzalez family. And the family that she has, she is actually from Pennsylvania and her husband is Cuban, spelt as Gonzalez. And when she was telling us this, we were here in October, November. And she was like, I want you to meet our friends. We really enjoy our friends. And I said, okay, well, I would love to meet your friends. And I would love to be out there with them. And I looked and go, did you replace us? I'm like, their story sounds so familiar to Ozzy and my story. And she didn't really, it dawned on her. She's like, oh my gosh. And then all of a sudden her neighbor was from Pennsylvania and they traveled back and forth to Pennsylvania. So I was like, you really replaced me. And she goes, no, I didn't. So it's funny how things work out. But every time we came here, or at least me, there was always something that was so, I don't know, spiritual. You know me. And I'm like, this is beautiful. Like the energy is beautiful. The indigenous energy is beautiful. The land's beautiful. And it was just a homey feeling that to be with her. And for that matter, I enjoyed it. I enjoyed life. I enjoyed coming to see her. And it was my stopping pass point on my trail. So my Miami to Pennsylvania trail no longer was just straight up 95. It had to divert. We diverted to the west, always so that I could remain, even if it was overnight, even if it was just my travel stop. I didn't care because that energy of wanting to be with family was always there. And forever and a day, I stopped. I stopped here religiously. And then to find out that not only was I stopping here, but my chief senior master sergeant, who was my boss in RatCon, only lived like 40 minutes away now. I was like, oh, coincidence? I don't think so. Though my husband and I did try when we were leaving Miami. We tried to find a house here. North Carolina is not so nice with veterans. And you would think with Fayetteville, with the air base there, or the base in Fayetteville, that they would have a little bit more, but they don't, which is pretty sad. They don't really do a lot here with veterans. If you're a disabled veteran, they'll give you 20% off your taxes, where there's other states that give 100% off taxes. Now, we know this as disabled vets, and we know this due to state backing. So I chose not to live here. I chose, though it's a beautiful place, though it's high energy and everything's beautiful around it, I just chose not to live here at the time. Anyway, so now here we go. So now I'm semi-retired. I'm still doing my spiritual stuff and my husband's still doing his photography things. But I'm no longer brick and mortar. I'm no longer, a lot of you know that, a lot of our shops and companies, after COVID, we decided to minimize our life. It got to be very crippling for us, just due to the nature of what was evolving in the world. And for that matter, we chose peace, quietness, happiness, and solidarity. So we moved up to the mountain and we left Miami. But I still go down. His family is there. So this is our beginning of our journey, because the deal was we left Miami, but I'm not staying in the cold because I already did that. I grew up in Pennsylvania. I don't want to shovel snow. I don't want to stay in my house like a hermit little bear, even though I'm bear energy. I didn't want to hibernate. There's times I want to hibernate, but not for 3 months. And not when there is so much to explore in the United States or overseas during these winter cold months, where you can actually, figure some things out and, clear your minds and maybe just maybe you might find a spiritual vortex or an area where you just feel very energetic and like almost to say, I think I've been here before. And when that happens, that's beautiful. When that happens there, that's a beautiful, beautiful thing. So if you are anywhere near Jamestown, North Carolina, stop in. Stop in because there is going to be on this episode so much information from historical Indians to landmarks of Quaker colonizations, Revolutionary Wars, trade routes went through here, and even paranormal. So there is a little bit for everybody. Photographers, we're going to go into Pilot Mountain for the photographers and the hikers and the trail climbers, which is just absolutely beautiful. So we are going to now listen. My commercials are going to be my intro because Spotify and YouTube are having their panties in a fire with copyright laws, with anytime you put a beat up now, they're having issues. So we're trying to figure this all out. And that's not my department, but that is NBR. So now when we're going to take a little bit of radio breaks because people having to use the bathroom, like me. And so that's going to be. So instead, what I'm going to do is we're just going to put this little music in the background so that we have fun and we're popping and we can continue our journey into Jamestown. So this is our first episode of Happy Hippie Trails 2006, and this is 66. It's the snowbird season, SBS in Jamestown, North Carolina. Here we go. So first thing we got to do is what 66 is. What is 66? 66 is a great number. It all boils down to, does anybody guess? 6 plus 6 is 12. 1 plus 2 is 3. That's right. Numerology 3 or angel number 3. I choose angel numbers, not numerology. I keep saying this. So here we are. Number 3. The number 3 represents the law of the triangle and is considered the most sacred and holy. The angels want you to know that a highly evolved guide, such as an ascending master or a saint, is supporting you and guiding you on your path. Our path. Right? At this point in time, these hippie trails always, when my husband and I drive, we always find something. We find something glorious, something magical, and this is how I feel. And not only that, number 66, it is an angel number containing a mirrored number. It's mirroring each other. That 6 and that 6. Pay great attention, as this number is a call for deep introspection on its messages. And I'm so happy. So that means I must be aware. Right now, I'm going to become aware of whatever in Jamestown wants my attention. Maybe it's Lydia. Who's that, you say? Stay tuned. You're going to find out. But our angel power word today is home. Feels like home when I'm here with my friends from 1988. Home. This is home. This just feels good. It's like visiting my mom or my sister. It just feels good. My sister from another mother and my brother from another mother. But this feels home. And what does the 66 actually mean? It's very important to maintain a very high energy within our home so that you feel calm and you feel relaxed. Clear your house with sage regularly and place rose quartz specimens throughout your home to maintain a harmonious energy. We just did the gridding class, so you out there listening about that gridding class, it's telling you black tourmalines, it's telling you rose quartz, it's telling you the stones that we were talking about in that class. Black tourmaline can also be used around the house to create a protective grid. Angels will guide you to perfect placement of all your crystals. Just ask for that assistance. So when you come into your friends, and maybe sometimes when you're with your friends, maybe there's some bullshit going around, and here comes energetic clean and Mary. Get out my way, I'm gonna clean it. And so those of you who know me, you know how I work, and I don't work with things that don't align. If they don't align, then we either balance it or we remove it from our life, or we just let go. And that is all part and parcel. So folks, we woke up here in North Carolina at 31 chilly degrees here in our little Pearl 2 camper, and to the point where You can see I have red here because I have a red fireplace right here beside me. Can I see? How do I show you this? This is so cute. Visual effects here. Let's just go to nude. You can see I'm in my camper. Let's get the screen off here so you can see. We'll go to none. Look, and there she is. Right there she is. She's so pretty. But we definitely, we had to use it because we're not plugged into one of those 50 amp powers for our heater in here. So I have a little space heater because it was 31. And every time I was speaking this morning, trying to get my studio set up, there was like, what do they call that? The condensation coming out of both ends. It was like, ooh, doggy. It was up there. Okay. Are you ready? Are you ready to hear a little bit about Jamestown? Because here is a very clear, historical, grounded little narrative of Jamestown, North Carolina, particularly caregiving to its Native American roots. That's what I love. Revolutionary War, cotton pickers, we all know, we already heard about it. And this is with no political framing and no speculative claims. I'm not going there. What I'm going to go there is the energy that holds this land together. And for that reason, I absolutely love this little area that my beautiful extended family has picked. The land is in Guilford County. If you've never heard of Jamestown, North Carolina, the land now is bordered into Guilford County and is the home of indigenous people of the Piedmont region. So if you study indigenous and native land people, you would want to look up the Piedmont region in this area. The area was also dominated by a single large tribe, rather than like Susanian speaking people who lived in small villages connected by trades, kinship, and seasonal movement. Wow, doesn't that sound like the Ursies for me? That's my, I'm like, wow, look, you just moved into that energy for me. You see how just everything's so beautiful. It always connects, and it's always a validity of everything connecting for the highest good or the highest purpose. So the native groups that were here were the Sherwa, one of the most significant indigenous groups in the central Piedmont societies. They lived among these rivers that are here and the fertile lands that were very active in trading. The Kiawu, I mispronounce these names because I've never heard of them, but the Kiawi, but we're going to study them. That's why we're here. Located primarily in Randolph County, but they moved through and utilized these lands near present-day Jamestown. The Saponi and the Tutolo, they are closely related to the Suwannee groups who also traveled and settled throughout the Piedmont region. So these people, back a long time ago, before a revolution and before all the crap, it was a practice agricultural, corn, beans, squash. They hunted deer and small game as their protein. They built earthen homes, or what they call the bark cover. So they would strip the barks from birch trees and from big oaks and stuff, and they would have bark cover structures. They used established trading paths, and Jamestown's happens to be one of these paths that went through here, some of which later became even the colonial roads that we'll find out a little bit later. But by early 1700s, disease, displacement, and pressure from the European expansion severely reduced native populations on this coastal, on this area, on the colonial sides. And many survivors merged with other tribes. And then they moved northern, or they moved more in westward, where they were more absorbed in or colonial societies. Some of the colonial societies actually, absorbed some of them. So the Great Wagon Road in the early European countries in the 1700s, these trading paths that went through here became the wagon roads. So if you're back in the wagon road countries in the 1700s, Gypsy Trail, right? here we are. Then you have your native Indians. They were the long ago before the Europeans were here. You have your German, your Scottish, Irish, and your English settlers that kind of pushed them all out. And then you got your Moravina missionaries and craftsmen, which there is a little area where my senior master sergeant, who actually lives close, they live closer to that area, which is amazing to see, because what I love about North Carolina and this area and this Piedmont area is they preserve a lot of things, and understandably, because they really don't get too many tornadoes or too many hurricanes through here. So stuff West North Carolina can get preserved very, very easily. And the land in itself, caretakers of that, as long as we keep the moss and we keep them clean, then these buildings are here forever. So the Moravinas traveling between Bethabara, Betharia, and Salem passed right through Jamestown. So over by Salem, North Carolina, not Salem, Massachusetts, but Salem, North Carolina, has that same intuition of the Hometics, right? It's the same thing when they came in. It was that subdivide between the Indian culture and the Quaker culture, and what the Quaker women would pick up from the actual native women of how to do things, right? Kind of spooky, right? Because then you go to Salem, Massachusetts, and all of a sudden women's not allowed to know anything, off with their heads or stoning them or whatever. So we have placement. We have standards of where things came from, which is amazing. So let me tell you a little story now that I like, because I like to groom everything together. So what I did is we're composing like a more spiritually grounded retelling of Jamestown, North Carolina. And it's all centered on Indigenous stewardship and reverence for the land and the continuity of the spirit of the land, rather than the conquest or the rashures that everybody wants to, now have issues with. But look at, we evolve. We have to go through these things so that we can evolve, right? Right? Some people are like, oh, I don't think so, MJ. But yeah, you'll get there. You'll see it. Someday you'll be like, oh, there's the light bulb. We have to be today, and we had to exist into the debacles in order to learn the life lessons to move forward. It's those who go through life with blinders on who don't want to see history to understand. That's why they always say history repeats itself. It only repeats itself for those who haven't learned through somebody else's experiences. Because we can learn from somebody else's experiences if we keep the books and we keep the paperwork and we keep all that upset people, right? If you get upset, you're throwing it away, you're discarding it, but then nobody ever learns that practice. So then we have to learn it all over again as a whole or in society. So this area, I love. This area is really proven for me to just be so much fun. So let's start with this beautiful helmet. We have 23. Oh, before we do this, let me just take a quick break. All my breaks are going to be just commercials and kind of motivational duck, our beaker mascot, little clips. So give you one of the newer versions of my commercial. Hold on.
Good morning. Welcome to the world of conscious positive thinking with MJ, where your thoughts become your power and your mindset becomes your compass. MJ is here to guide you through a journey of self-awareness, emotional mastery, and empowered living.
Find us on the web at mbradio.us.
Want to make
Yeah, man. Just feel it. Let it flow. Peace and love in the air, Woke up with the sun on my face. Breathing deep in this holy space. Feeling good, no need to race. The rhythm of life moves at its pace. Good vibes rise like smoke in the sky. Love in our hearts, no need to ask why. swirl in my open mind. Truth and joy in the thoughts I find. A smile's the cure, a word's the key. Positive thinking sets you free.
Dream big, start small, but most of all, start.
Whenever things get rough or it feels like you're at the edge, remember this: storms pass.
Tough times don't last, but tough people do.
All right. Okay. Are we ready for story time? We're back. I hope you enjoyed Miss Amber of the podcast Into the Weeds. She assisted in that music and getting it up. And so we're getting there. So I hope you enjoyed a sneak peek. So here we go. The story, The Land Remembers. Land has memory. We did just a cup of water. Water has memory. So does land. So do our trees and everything around us. It's all energy that has memory. So before there was a name, before fences and roads or deeds, this land knew itself. The rolling Piedmont Hills, where Jamestown's now rests, were once part of a living, breathing network of native nations who listened to the earth as a teacher. The people did not own the land, they belonged to it. There's a difference, right? We don't own it, we belong to it. The first stewards of the land. For thousands of years, the Sewanee-speaking people, including the Shirals, the Kiwa, the Kawati, the Saponi, and the Tortellos, walk these fields, forests, and waterways with intention and respect of the land. They understood the land as relative, but not resource. It was relative. It was theirs. It felt family-ish. They didn't use it as a resource. Okay? They planted the three sisters, corn, beans, and squash, stewardships of the land, in harmony, each supporting the other. They followed the deer with gratitude and thankfulness. They gathered medicines with prayers. The rivers and the creeks were not obstacles, but veins of mother carrying life and story. The paths that they walked were not random. They were energetic lines. They were trade routes. They were ceremonial crossings. The ways the land taught humans how to move without harm. Many of these paths still exist today beneath the asphalt and a lot of the buildings that you see. But remember, our land has memory as well as our water has memory. It's a memory conscious. So, disruption without departure. When European settlers arrived, the native people did not vanish. They were pushed, pressured, scattered, and wounded by disease and broken treaties. But their spirit did not leave the land, nor did the land leave their spirit. Some tribes moved north, some moved west, some just moved further in, and then some merged with neighboring nations. Some stayed very quietly, woven into colonial society, taking their place as land ownership and land stewards. Yet the songs, the prayers, the guardianship remained embedded in this soil, the wind, and the trees. As an energetic and a spiritualist, you feel these things in this little area. My friends, they're very religious, but they're very Christian, but they're not into the spiritual nature. They absorb it, they like it, they understand where I come from with it, and they always point things out for me. MJ, check this out. MJ, what do you think about this? It is that presence. It is that omnipotent of energy that fills my soul when I come and thank them, going, wow, what did you find here? Such a miracle. And I love sitting and meditating in that. And you can hear almost song in your ear. You can hear the guardianship saying, this is not my land. I'm just stewarding it. You can hear this. And it's just the land remembers who loved it. The land will always tell you who we are and what it is that we love. So since all these tribes were moving around, those remain the consciousness of this land. And I call it conscious positive, right? Why? Because it embraces you like a hug. When you have a conscious positive mindset with no negative demeanor, and always trying to find balance, the land holds you and hugs you. Trust me. Take your hikes or your walks. When you're just hiking, you feel how beautiful the land is around you. You allow your mind to feel that, let everything go. Hence, I think this is my path, right? So the wagon trails, the path, I find a lot of solace in that. I find a lot of comfort, and almost like multi-dimensionalizing, saying, was I through here in the 1400s or the 1700s? I must be, because it seems very familiar. This energy feels so familiar. Even without my friends near me, if they're at work, I still feel this overwhelming, I've trekked through here before. So now we're going to go to the arrival of the new hands that came after the natives. So, the Quakers, right? Those beautiful Quakers whose settlers later arrived, people who in their own way sought peace, simplicity, and community. They farmed gently compared to other colonial systems. They listened more than most did here. And unknowingly, they built upon the ancient wisdom that was given as those indigenous natives merged in with the colonizing Quakers. They were teaching them about the land and the stewardship of the land. So they were settling near the waters, honoring the seasons, and living close to the earth. What a balance. Do you think in today's world this could have happened? People don't know how to balance today. You come in and you're treated like an import. You're treated like, you don't belong. And then you get into these cliques. This isn't what happened here in this beautiful place called Jamestown. That's not what happened. These Quakers, some of them forcibly kind of were nasty, but not all. Like you said, there was some Quakers, especially here, who invited and wanted the knowledge of the natives and wanted the knowledge. And they were so proud of stewardships of the land to teach how to protect and govern this land with such honor and such understanding. And you feel it. Well, if you've never been to Jamestown, North Carolina, you feel this presence. You feel that within your soul. Jamestown grew slowly, not through denominations, but through continuity. When you continue the sovereignship and the stewardships of anything, you have a continual healthy presence that will be, the longevity just exists. And so mills rose where water already knew how to flow. Roads followed native trails, so they became the wagon trails. Homes stood where the land already welcomed life. So was it a disruption, or was it a balanced, aligning merge that we desperately need in this world today? Learn about this. It's an amazing culture to be able to merge. The unbroken circle today, Jamestown is a modern town, but it's also ancient grounds. And walking on these trails and some of these beautiful historical marking sites, you feel it very, very, very well. You can feel it, even if you're not a spiritualist. You can stand there and you can see it. You can feel how the people were. And I love that. You can find the same thing in St. Augustine. You can find them. Stick with our happy trails here, because these are the types of places that will take you. And we're going to give you some of those insights. All right. So every sunrise still touches the same hills. Every rain still feeds the same roots. And every child who walks this land is walking with the ancestors, this ancient native ancestors. They may not see them, but they are never alone. And you feel that. As an energist, when I'm here, I smile a lot because I always feel a presence. I always feel something, or I feel a hand. It's it's, to me, I love it. I'm like, thank you. Show me what you want to show me, because they know the land. I'm just a visitor at the moment, a visitor who cares about their land and wants to just feel that energy. They know that. They're quite with it. The descendants of the original peoples live on through the revitalizing nations, such as the Apache Band or the Saponi Nation. And the Saponis and the other who continue to honor their lineage, their language, and their ceremonies. So Indigenous stewardship is not past tense. It is a present awareness. There's that word again. To be aware of energy such as that is stifling. It's beautiful. Good morning. And it is just a delightful energy to say, oh my gosh, may we be as one. And that is what life is about. Joining, merging, and life being as one. So as a living acknowledgement, to live here is to be a temporary guardian, not an owner. It's not about owning. It's about presticating. It's about having. It's about loving. And it is, I look at it like my friends. I go, you're planting beautiful tulips and you're planting these things for the beautiful deer to eat them. And that's stewardship of the land. Even though she's like, no, I didn't. I go, it's okay. Look how you are being a sovereign to your land. And then she built a beautiful pond, recognizing the water and the lands together. And I tell her things and she's like, I built it because I like my fish. I go, do you see the perspective? I love perspectives with so many things, because it's that perspective that just gives a friendly appetite and a vulnerability back into, nature. And I just love it. It's just who I am. Anyway, so we honor the first people who knew about the land by heart, the ancestors whose prayers still hold the soil, and the spirit of balance that asks us to walk gently. May we remember that the land here does not belong to us. We belong to the land, not the other way around. And many Jamestowners here continue to be a place where memory, spirit, and responsibility walk together. Isn't that fun? So I just gave you an overall kind of thing about Jamestown. So now we're going to go to why of Jamestown. And the whys of Jamestown is kind of fun, because when you come back to the beginning of Jamestown was the name in itself. I'm going to show you here. So in the early European contracts and settlement in the 1700s, the trading paths became the wagon roads. So the native Indians in the 1700s who created those paths that they made for their life support became really common in the 1816, when Jamestown was formally named and settled by James Mendenhall, an influential Quaker settler and landowner. Quakers were among the earliest Europeans here, as I told you, who some of them disrupted the flow of the natives and some of them didn't. But it all happens. Just like Julius Caesar, just like the Vikings, they are conquering and expanding for evolution purposes. It is not for anything else. It was a taught and sought. And as we grow on this beautiful earth, we realize nothing belongs to us. We are allowed to enjoy it. We were granted the rights to be here, and we need to cherish her. And that's this feeling, this Quaker influence that came in. They did favor peaceful land acquisitions, community governances, farming, and craftsmanships. Again, some of the Native Indians merged into colonialization with the Quakers. That's why I think some people who are here in the United States, when they say that they have ancient roots, they probably do, right? So the original Quakers to the Native, they call them Native Americans, but they're really not even Native Americans. We realize that, right? Because they were from Canada, and they came across from Russia into the Arctic. They had a long trail. So even the natives aren't really natives. Isn't that amazing to know? Because a lot of people go, oh, they were here first. No, they were nomads. All Indian nations were nomads. And you can't call their land because they didn't even call their land their land. They sacrificed for the land, right? Because the land was their god. So they sacrificed themselves as the land carer on some of these tribes to make sure that everything was okay for them to be there. Amazing again how that worked. Too bad, sometimes in our society, we can't see that. We get very possessive. You're not going to take my house. What do you mean share my house? I get that. But then I don't get that. We share. It's not your land. By contract, by man, it's your land. But if you were a sovereignty being of Earth, it's not your land. You're allowed to use it. Mother Earth is Mother Earth. Remember that. Because there's going to be some of that coming up. The old song, this land is your land, this land is mine. Right? Remember that song back in grade school? Anyway, so the Quakers, their presence shaped Jamestown's early culture, emphasizing order, education, and civic responsibility. Remember, Quakers were very Christian oriented. Unlike the coastal North Carolina, Jamestown grew very slowly with intention, centered on farming, milling, and trade rather than the plantations. They weren't about these big plantations with slaves. Here in Jamestown, it was more trade. It was the wagon trails. It was the trade paths. And this made Jamestown what it is today. So in the 19th century, as Jamestown grew, a market town for all local farmers. It's funny, when I come here, there's a really big, it's called the Moose Cafe. I don't know the little area, but there's a big farmers market every weekend. Still with trading of their produce, still with trading of artisan goods, still trading out, right? Isn't that fun? And as we go, it's just quite possibly, it could be on that wagon trail. Who knows? We're going to find that out too as we get through. So later developments here in Jamestown, including the textile mills, right? The furniture manufacturing. Jamestown is really big for furniture manufacturing plants. Rail access, which increased trade and population. Jamestown always remained smaller and more residential compared to like High Point or Greensboro or Charlotte or, Nags Head. They're preserving this town centered on its true identity of who it is and what it was. So the legacy of the Indians, though there was no federal recognition, tribes remaining of those headquarters in Jamestown, the indigenous legacy persists through place names. The names of indigenous are all over the place. Like, you just know it's a native name. Architectural evidence all over the place. Old trading paths beneath modern roads today, you can still see some of those, and the oral histories of the Piedmont tribes. Many descendants of the Siouanian people today are connected to still the Saponis or the Oconee band of Saponi nations. Other revitalized Piedmont native communities in North Carolina and Virginia, very heavily in its native roots. So, in summary, before we go into now all the little areas, Jamestown, North Carolina, stands on land shaped by thousands of years of indigenous presence. The Siouanian-speaking people who live sustainably on this Piedmont area. The Quaker settlers who established a peaceful agrarian town followed in pursuit of the Sewanee-speaking tribes that were here and those who merged with them. It was a crossroad history like native paths and wagon roads and those rail lines now. As we develop, it went from horse and foot to wagon, horse and wagon, into the trade routes of our old Model Ts into the rail lines. And it's still that way today. It's not a story of conquest, but a layer of history to show how it evolved naturally, organically, and given the land its stewardships. So where native foundations and colonial settlement, the modern community today, all coexist in that land itself. My friends moved here in 2016. They're almost here 10 years. This summer, I think, is 10 years for them, their anniversary to be here. And she's kind of like me, is she wants to go to all the little harvest festivals and all the historical places and really figure out where she's living and the energy that it holds. And I love that. That just kind of warms my heart, because then I get that fulfillment. I get to have that need. So I was a pass-through, right? I was one of those who were on that established of having that be on my trail. I told you, when she lived here, I no longer straight 95. I had to have the trail. And every time I came, I learned something new. And I felt the energies. So for this, I think this was an energizing portal for me, this little town, for whatever reason, with those beautiful Suwanian landowners. And so at that, we're going to take a break. You're listening to my show here on the beautiful Military Broadcast Radio, or mbradio.us. You can find us on all streaming platforms. And my show here is called The World of Conscious Pop. Break for the next 3 months. I'm going to take you on my happy trails. And maybe we might learn something, and maybe we can cross-reference to energies happening today, like land, sovereignty of land. It's a thing. It is a thing. I promise it's a thing. All right. Let's go to a motivational quacker rapper. And now we're going to see some calm water since we climbed the mountains, and then we're going to go from there. We'll be right back.
Even ducks know the calmest waters come after the storm.
Whenever things get rough or it feels like you're at the edge, remember this: storms pass.
Tough times don't last, but tough people do.
The station where our veterans' voices are heard. MBR Talk.
Hey, thanks for supporting our channel by watching and listening.
Find us on the web at mbradio.us.
All right, here we go. Now I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to start putting some things up on the screen with a screen share so that you can see it. And we're going to start with the Mendenhall home place. We're going to share this right now. Okay. How about we just go straight there? All right. So here, the Mendenhall home place. You can go right to Mendenhall home place, serving the present by sharing the lessons of the past. Mendenhall home place represents the legacy of the small community of Quaker tradesmen and farmers who actively opposed slavery, promoted education for all, and labored to create a life of peace and simplicity in the midst of troubled times. The authentic Quaker homestead features several early 19th century structures, including the Richard Mendenhall House. It's a centerpiece of Jamestown's history. This historic Quaker home and farm was built around 1811. It still stands today by the earlier settler Richard Mendenhall. It includes the farmhouse, the barn. You can see the farmhouse there, the barn, store. There is a store down there. You can see them. Schoolhouse, the well house is over here. You can see all of them. They still exist today. It's a rare false bottom wagon, which is associated with the Underground Railroad lore. The site interprets local life, Quaker traditions, and anti-slavery activism in the early 19th century. So you know that some of these, and underneath there were little caverns and holes. This was a tanning table here, and this was a false bottom wagon. So the false bottom wagon held the escapees for slavery, so they didn't captivate them. This was on the other side here, the lower bunk barn door. And then, of course, you have the schoolhouse there. This was the black walnut leaves. They were so prestigious in medicinal purposes. Here's your walnuts and your dried yarns that they put out for you. This was the hall room fireplace that still exists in the house here, and the mandala home, and of course the bank barn. So this was really a fantastic place to visit. You can actually feel the Richard Mandel energy in there. You can feel the happiness of the slaves, that they were no longer captive, and that they were trying to actively oppose it and do things to photographer people out there. Excellent architectural detail, period buildings, interpretive exhibitions, and photo-ready gardens and landscapes. So all of these were there at, let me behind the screens today, so you just got me. Anyhow, so we have the Mandel House, really in Jamestown, really is the point central of the Quakers coming in 1811, showing the architectural trade and assisting indigenous and slaveries all the way around. So that helps to make here in beautiful Jamestown. So the next one we're going to go to, it's called the Oakdale Cotton Mill. Let me see if I can't get that one up for you. Let me see. The Oak Ridge Cotton Mill, the historical textile mill, it was surrounding the village date in the late 1800s and represents the industrial era of the region. The right to the Ragsdale Farm, or what people call the Magnolia Farm. Here's your Magnolia Farm. Here you can see it. You can put Ragsdale Farm, Magnolia Farms, Jamestown, PA. It's a historical farm complex. So those who love horses and the spirits of the horses of our natives, this farm is big time. It kept the equestrian, it kept that fairy world energy, it kept that motivational energies going. And the Ragdale Farm, the complex encompassed the 19th century and the 20th century agricultural buildings, including barns, granary, tenant houses, and landscapes. I have not been here, but from what I understand from a lot of different energetic people, that the farming area was the same farming area that they were using with the indigenous tribes, with the gathering of all their horses. So it's funny how the evolvement of the early 15 to 1700s are still evolving in our 21st century today. And the farm blends agricultural history with rural activities and rural architecture that is done today. So it's a for photographers, it is look at this picture here, the Magnolia Farm, this with the snow. I mean, sometimes you have snow and sometimes you don't, but this one in particular I loved because that's what you see when you go by there. And it is a perfect for like rustic photography and understanding the traditional Piedmont farming lifestyle. They kept the Piedmont gatherings of the indigenous and the natives and their farming culture. So this was really a pureness in
Life is like a duck. Tough times don't